Hello, good evening. I'm very happy to be here with you tonight, this evening. It is few minutes before 10 p.m. in the evening, and our topic is Cain and Enoch. I would like to stream one verse here to the chat box and discuss it with you. Whenever you have the time, you can join us. 1 second. Yeah. This is from Genesis 4:17. Genesis 4:17. And this verse is followed by a question that we received from Felipe on Discord. This is, I hope it will arrive here. This is Genesis 4. Genesis 4:17. Yes, here it is. Genesis 4:17. Vayeda Cain et ishto, and Cain knew his wife. Vatahar vateled, and she conceived and gave birth to, in Hebrew, et Chanoch, Enoch. Vayehi boneh ir, and he was building or still builds a city, and he named the name of the city as the name of his son Enoch. Here in this text we can see a very interesting point. Enoch, Chanoch, is not considered to be Cain's son. Yes? It says, Vayeda Cain et ishto, and Cain, yes, translated to English, and Cain knew his wife. Knew his wife. Vatahar vateled, yes, and she conceived and gave birth to Enoch. It doesn't say and she conceived and she gave birth to a son. She conceived and gave birth to Enoch. Enoch here is not mentioned as a son like we read about Shet this afternoon. But later in the verse he considered to be Cain's son, Bno, his son, but it's not a Ben, son, because this afternoon we mentioned that Ben son is considered to be like the letter Vav from the Tetragrammaton. Ben, let's make it like this. Ben, which is son in English, is like equivalent or symbolized by the letter Vav. Yes, by the letter Vav, which is contains the six spheres from Chesed to Yesod. So Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Hod, Netzach. Netzach we have here. Netzach, Hod, Yesod. Those are the six spheres, the trunk of the tree, so to speak. And the Bible does not mention here that Enoch, the son of Cain, so to speak, is not a son. He is not the center of the tree, the center of the tree of life. Unlike Shet. Shet is mentioned as the son of Adam. Yes? Let's look for the verse. והאדם ידע עוד, ואדם ידע עוד, אדם ידע עוד. Yes, here we have it, Genesis 4:1. והאדם, one second, this is not it. This is not it. Adam. Let's find it. One second. ותלד. Here in Genesis 4:25, וידע אדם עוד את אשתו. Genesis 4:25, and here we see, yes, I hope it will pop here in the chat box, וידע אדם עוד, yes, עוד את אשתו ותלד בן, and she gave birth to a son, ותקרא שמו את שמו שת. So about Shet, the Bible is writing to us that Shet is a son because he is included of those 6 spheres, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. Yes? And this is the presence. And from the presence, all humanity continues. The Bible does not describe Chanoch, Cain, son, as Ben. So from the beginning, from the way the Bible describes Enoch, we can see that nothing will come out from Enoch. He is not mentioned as a son. Those are little nuances of the text. If we read the Hebrew text of the Bible very carefully, we noticed that whenever we read the text, new understanding are coming, and it is not like it is a familiar story, because it's not a familiar story. The whole Bible is not about things that happened in the past. It's not a story of a family. It is a book about how life is, or what is happening. And we can notice in a way what is happening only if we are present at the moment, because many times we assume that we know. We are like sailing in our heads with thoughts, and we're not present at the moment. And the whole story, and we read this also in the book of Zohar, in Saba Mishpatim. This is a special unit in the book of Zohar. And there's a description there how the Torah, or the text, is calling us to be present. We open the text and we read the text innocently. In a way, what do I mean by reading the text innocently? We do not come to this is negation of what we don't come to the text as persona, yes, of this personality, of this name, of the story of our life. We don't come with who we think that we are or what we're telling ourselves that we are. we are approaching the text without this, let's say, personality that we think that we are. We just come and being present. And also the text that comes to us is present, and there is a meeting. Why there is a meeting? Because in a way our personality, what is a personality? Our thoughts and what is revolving about those things is not needed in this meeting. Our presence is needed. So we come every time like in a way, this is a virgin reading. What is a virgin reading? The text is open and we are relating to the text like we have never seen it before, or we don't know nothing about the story, no names, no relations. This is the first time that we read the text. And when we come innocently to the text without a previous knowledge, what happens is there's intimacy between the letters and the innocence or the virginity of the moment, and then a new reality pops up, a living reality is popping out in front of our eyes, and the Torah is a living source. Yes, Maim Chaim, living water. The Torah is also called Maim Chaim, living water, because it is a living Torah. Yes, it's not a history book. Many times when we read the Bible in English or other languages, the verbs are translated into a past form because there is a presumption that everything which is told in the Bible was thousands of years ago, and the verbs usually are translated to a past form when the verbs in Hebrew are written in present tense, meaning this is what is happening now. So what is happening in Saba Mishpatim in the book of Zohar? There is a description in a way how the Torah or the written letters of the Torah is like a maiden, like a young lady, which is in a way hides in the tower. Tower is the name of the Tetragrammaton, and she's hiding in the tower in the name that contains 4 letters. And the maiden, the Torah, is hinting at the reader, yes, to inviting him or hinting at him to approach and to read the text and discover a new life while reading the text innocently. This is the story or the riddle. Now I tell you, it has been told as a story, but it appears in the book of Zohar as a riddle. Yes, they ask, who is this maiden? So the Torah is like a beautiful maiden, which is living in a tower. The tower is not a physical tower from bricks, but a tower, Migdal Oz, Shem Hashem. The tower is a strong tower, is the name of being, the 4 letters of being, Havaya, being. And the Torah is always in the tower, in the mode of being. And the moment we are opening the Torah or the text and we are present at the moment, we are present, the Torah is present as a flow of life that presents itself in the present for us. And this is why it's so unique to open the Torah and to read it in the moment. This is what we're doing now. No, we don't have the whiteboard or Discord set because now we're trying a new format. It's always nice to try things and see how do they happen. And the moment that we open the text, we find new life in the Torah, and many things that we read in lores or in different commentaries, and maybe the stories sometimes known to us, why the sages wrote those stories, it's not clear. And many times when we read innocently the Torah, we find those points in which it's not clear, and the sages are trying to, they found a lacuna, yes, like a lack, and then there in this lacuna they write a story that will complete the gap, so to speak. It is also very beautiful because about Shet, later it is written that Adam delivered Shet in his image, Betzelmo Kidmuto. Yes, in Betzelem, Tselem is the inner, Tselem is inner image, it's more the spirit, and Dmut is more the appearance. So Adam delivered Shet as his, not just likeness or in his like in English, in the mode of being and in the mode of becoming. This is very interesting because in Genesis we read that God created man, yes, or Adam, Betzelmo here, Tselem, Bidmuto. This is how God created Adam, Betzelmo, Bidmuto. This is the relation between divinity and Adam. Adam, human, was created in the Tselem, so to speak. Tselem is the inner being which all of us are sharing before we have names, before we were born in bodies. This is the Tselem. And the Torah says that Adam was created Betzelem, in the mode of being, in present, and also Bidmut, and in the image. Dmut is something which comes from dam, blood. The image of hands and legs which are capable of walking here. So Adam was created Betzelem and Bidmut, in the being and becoming. This is how Bereshit, Genesis, opens. But later, when Shet is finally born or comes from the inner meeting between Adam and his wife about Shet, the Torah writes that Adam delivered Shet Betzelmo Kidmuto. Adam, in this innocent mode, continues this infinite chain of Tselem and Dmut, as God created Adam, Betzelem and Dmut, meaning in the being and in the becoming. Adam delivers, so to speak, Shet, Betzelem, inner, and Dmut. And in a way there is no wall or barrier. As God created Adam, Betzelem and Dmut, being and becoming, Adam delivers this code to Shet, and Shet is created Betzelem and Dmut. There is no interference. There is, let's say, one river comes from the divinity through Adam and moves through shit. The interference, yes, that came before through Eve while delivering Cain and Abel, this interference does not exist. Cain and Abel were not born in a way in the image B'Tselem. I say image, but I would like to use the Hebrew. Cain and Abel were not born B'Tselem and Mut. Again, Cain and Abel. Yes, that the Bible says about him, Vatahar Vateled, and Eve. Yes, Vatahar Vateled. And she conceived and she gave birth. Lekain, et Cain, Vatahar Vateled et Cain. Yes, there is no description about Cain nor about Abel, that those two were born B'Tselem and Mut, in the being and in the becoming, like God created Adam. There, in a way, Eve, or what Eve did, does not match with the creation of God or with divinity. There is, in a way, interference. In the radio transmission, there's like an error, we could say, because whatever is written about those two, it is interesting. The Torah does not write that Cain and Abel are sons. The Torah does not mention next to the name Cain or before the name Cain the word Ben, which is son in English. Also, the Torah does not mention that Abel is a son. Also, the Torah does not mention that those two were born B'Tselem and Mut. So this is interesting. So what are Cain and Abel? They are not sons. They were not created B'Tselem and Mut in the image or in the form of the divinity intended or did in the creation of Adam. So what are they, Cain and Abel? What is Eve, or who is Eve? Let's try to answer those questions. And also you can write in the chat box if you would like to ask or say hello. I shall love to hear you. Eve is in Hebrew Chava, Venus, hello. Systems, yes. Eve is the experience in us. And sometimes we have a good experience. It's a plus. We have fun. We say in English to have fun, yes? Having something, like we bought it, we have it, we own this fun or this. And sometimes there is not a sense of achievement or having fun. They feel like nothing, like steam or like mist, like steaming water, like gas. We don't feel even that we are alive. So those two, the sense of having, this is what the experience grants us in the world. If we go and says, this is my own experience, because this is, who says that way, he or she has experience, it comes from identity. All of us have names, we were born somewhere, there's a story, yes, because there's a point of which people coming to the world, they are being born, they get a name, they get like few details, circumstances. This is the story of who they are, this is their identity. And this is the experience that this identity has in life. And sometimes this identity, regardless of its name, has a positive experience, or experience that she has something really good in her power to do, to hold, to conceive. This is a positive experience, and sometimes there isn't. So the experience in us called Eve, it's like has a dual. It's like a dual sword. The experience. Sometimes the experience shows positive pole because we're having fun. We got what we want. This is plus. We have it. Yes. And sometimes not. It is not happening. So the experience is polar. It's most of the time it's not balanced. Either it's like we have something, and the experience, because it's external, yes. So it's outside of us because we have an identity, and if we have an identity, we have story of our life that we are telling ourselves, yes. And there's destinations and aims and goal. If we achieve the goal, this is plus. If we don't, this is minus, like steam, like nothing. So those two, Cain and Abel, in us, in the experience called Eve, are not considered to be what? They're not considered to be sons, Ben. They're not the Vav. First of all, the outside. They are experienced. They're not in the center. Yes, so they're not considered to be sons. They're not present, because if we have, or when we feel that we have experience, or when we tell ourselves that we have experience, it is already implies one fact. It implies that we are not present. Because if we are present at the moment, there is no identity. There is no story in us. There is no circumstances. We are like those trees that sometimes they move in the wind, sometimes the leaves are falling, sometimes there's rain. There is no personal story. The destruction comes from personal story that we tell ourselves. So those two do not exist because each one is contradicting the other. Our lives as experience do not bring us anywhere in a way. Though we think that we are aiming and we would like to go for a certain title or pose, it doesn't go anywhere. What we would not like to consider, but this is what is happening. It's not that the world is going to a certain direction, like an arrow leaves the bow and goes somewhere. The world, just the world. Life exists. We exist. All of us are. Or through us, life or divinity express itself. We, in our narration, telling ourselves that this is our story, this is my identity, and so, yes, here is where I live, here's what I like, this is how people introduce themselves to others, But this is a narration that we tell ourselves. The world or life are present, and we are present as well, because life is moving through us. It is easier for us to look at a tree and to see that the wind is moving through the branches, moving the branches and the leaves as well. It is easier for us to look at a tree and to see the wind is moving through the branches and the leaves. But it is also sometimes impossible for us to see that we are this tree as well. In what way? That this energy that comes from the source, the spring of life, is going through us like the wind is going through the leaves and the branches of the tree. Sometimes there is a sense of happiness, sometimes there is sadness, sometimes there is a sense of achievement, sometimes all of those things are changing, but they are not who we are. What we tell ourselves, this identity, yes, Felipe, narration is narrow. Yes, narration is narrow. When we are narrating or introducing ourselves, I don't know if people do this today, if they go to meetings, maybe they do. It's just to the sake of convenience or order, I don't know how to call it, because every child or baby which is born nowadays gets a number already in the hospital, yes, and a name from the parents, and he's a future civilian or resident, or he gets ID number, and there's tags, pack in the hospital. They give them a number, they get a name, they get shots. The baby, tick, 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 immediately, how do you say, inoculation, baby inoculation, a few needles from left and right. Tuck, 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 tuck. Hey, you're here, you're boxed in. Here's your name, here's your number, here's your inoculation. Why do you cry? Well, why? So, and we grow with this name and number and identity. But this is a narrow game, the narration, and so much life is happening. And if we are, or when we are narrowing down the story to our name, identity, and circumstances, this is really narrow. And at some point, it happens to some people that this identity is just shattered. It's not happening to some people it is happening in one day. In some people it happens to them while they hear something. To certain people it happens when close people are passing away, tick, 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 tick. And it depends. But the less narration that we do or is happening in us, the more life we can live, not experience, but the more life we can live, because the narration narrates us down to the facts, A, B, C, D, and this is it, but there's so much more. Yes, the narrow game, yes, that's correct. So what also gives barely, peace and less struggle is the notion that nothing is personal. Meaning, when there is a narration, when there is a story, a name, a circumstances, everything is personal. Everything is against me or pro me. I go outside, is it for me or against me? And this is a mechanical battle starts, the chess game starts, and it causes a lot of suffering, because what is the difference between suffering and pain? Let's say somebody hammers or somebody runs to a door. So for the moment there's a pain, yes? But suffering is the story that we are telling ourselves about the fact. And the suffering can go days and nights all the time, and this is really a torture. And sometimes we are caught in this story, in the suffering that the face just getting forced frozen, and some people cannot smile because they believe to the narration that comes from their story. There's a beautiful, yes, Felipe? Poetry gives us something closer to life, I guess. Yes, yes. This is interesting because I was reading a Hebrew poetry blog, and sometimes people are just posting poems, but there is a person that they're always write about how she tries to control her thoughts, and she pulling every day a new goal, a new aim, and she tries to control and follow her thoughts and to command her thoughts, and just pages and pages with details. But just the more this person writes about herself, the more she is suffering, of course. But this is quite interesting. Once we are stopping telling ourselves who we are, what identity do we have, that those walls of suffering are just falling, are just melting. Yes, like the walls of Jericho. Yes, Jericho is the city of the moon, Yericho, Ir HaYereach. We are children of the moon. Without the cycles of the moon around planet Earth, we could not come here to this life. And one day, those walls are falling, and we notice there is life, open life source. Yes, and it's all available for us, and we are available for life, because the narrow narration story that we tell ourselves is not blocking the sunlight anymore. Jericho 2024, this is the name of the movie. Yes, Venus. Jericho 2024. So, and whenever there is everything's fall, I mean the walls of the me, of the I, the wall of the selfing, everything is open, and there's only life. There's like humming ocean, and there's like birds moving, and there is no stress. If something happens, yes or no. Something spilled on the table, it's not a holocaust or disaster, and the laundry, not this moment. So an hour later, when the cat will, because we host the cat, and finally she comes to crash here in the storms, and when it's cold, so I don't have a heart to operate the laundry machine because she's afraid from the spinner. So we waited, 6-8 hours until she rested, and then she went out and operated the machine. So it doesn't matter, because we are educated all the time to take charge. Hello, Watson. We are always educated to take charge of your life, and you can do better, you can do higher, you can score, you can become someone, you can solve all of your problems, and if you cannot solve problems, it's your own fault, you could do better. Some people score higher than you, and so this is how we brought up, more or less. It doesn't matter where, but this ain't so. This ain't so. Life is happening regarding of us putting aims in front of our eyes, or goals. People are inhaling, birds are flying, buses are moving, sun is rising, stars are coming when the sun sets. Who's in charge? Which government decides when the star will come and the sun will rise? So once those walls of Jericho are melting, yes, there's such a relief. It is not just the suffering is gone, but this heaviness to carry this identity, because it's like to carry a dead a dead person on your back, but not just dead person. Imagine that the story about ourselves includes families and neighbors and neighborhoods and universities and God knows what we have been through life, and we are dragging this let's say dead cities upon our back. It's quite heavy and it causes suffering, and once those walls of Jericho are melting, we're not carrying this load of other people, of stories, who said to whom and what and when, and this heritage of this family. Once I asked, but why do we go to Christmas every year to such and such? So the question, the answer that I received was, well, this family celebrates this Christmas since da 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 da, and so it shall be da 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 da. Okay. One day, whether it's Corona or whatever comes, or people are dying or passing away, everything stops. It doesn't exist anymore. Not that Christmas does not exist, but it's saying, because it doesn't hold water. And suddenly all this heaviness is gone. And suddenly you can live at the moment, and what comes, comes, and what not comes is not coming. And there's no one to blame or to set faults on. Because when things are not working against what we thought should happen, we're going with this blame. We blame ourselves or we blame others. And this constant blaming or feeling ashamed or inadequate, it not just causes suffering, it's so heavy. It is so heavy. And this heaviness does not leave us a space to be present in the moment or available to what is happening, to what is coming at the moment. Yes, it might be a song, it might be a letter, it might be a thought of like an avenue, like idea for a project or so. And if we are always going around us with this armor of identity, this iron armor, like in the Middle Ages, people used to walk with armor, and then they used to go to the battle with this armor. It used to weigh many, many kilos of metal, like Goliath armor. So it is so heavy and clunky, and puts us in a jail that we cannot even be present for the moment. So when this story about ourselves is falling one day, or several times per day, it is such a relief. And this is the joy, this is Yitzhak, this is Isaac, because the armor, yes, or the walls are the narration or the identity that we have in this life. And once this identity is falling, or the story of our identity is falling, there's only like relief and joy. Not joy in like ha, something like this, but relief that just breathing, it's great. And life, it's so simple. Questions that you would like to ask or to say? This is a new format that I would like to try, because sometimes if I would like to stream, if I would like to open a stream, mostly in the evenings, it is easier for me to speak first of all and not to deal with text, because the whiteboard. So I don't want to limit the streaming, because sometimes the streaming is through the whiteboard, sometimes with text. And I would like also to less and less hide behind the text, because there's a lot to learn from the text, from the sages and so. But I would like also to speak as things are coming as they are, and not limit our streaming to certain hours in the days, because now it's night and it's easy for me to relate to you in this way. I don't know how it is being accepted by you, but the more I remove the barriers, the easiest and fluent it will be for us to stream. Yes, because usually, and I'm being frank with you, because sometimes the classes with the whiteboard are very engaging, very much interesting, but it just to relate to the text, and the text is made of letters and words, and the words also are, and the letters are bodies. Yes, each letter is like a body, a symbol, and we can hide in a way behind the text. But I would like also for us, if I could express this wishing that the walls will fall, and in a way, if we deal more and more with more and more text, where just people are being caught, like if there's the only thing which is happening. So it's also a way, but it's not the only way. So sometimes it will be like this, or sometimes like that. But the most important thing is that there's a connection all the time, and which is not limited. Yes, and this is what is important for me, to speak about those walls that are falling, because the story about ourselves, it is like a shell. Yes, there's a fruit, and the fruit's supposed to be ready on the tree, and it has to cross a few months in the winter, also a few seasons, until the fruit is ready. If the fruit will not have a strong shell around it, it will not be ready. So in a way, we are also carrying this clunky shell around us, but there is no need in this shell any longer. It just, in a way, keeps us far and remote from life. Yes, Venus, why is neck and education is related to Enoch, and what do we learn about fish? Having no neck. Yes. Why is neck and education? I have to see. We shall have to see. This is an interesting question. It binds many elements. We shall have to see. Yes. Yes, Philippa, this spontaneous way of flowing and sharing is marvelous. So I'm very glad that we can do it, because we are not limited. Because what this way enables us is to make a stream, and then to rest, to drink something, to refresh, and then if there's something coming, to open a new stream. So there is no limitation, because with the text, what is happening is that you would like to bring a text, so I would like to bring a text, so there's like negotiation, which text, and suddenly the searching, in a way, gets, how do you say, monstrous pulling, and there's more time invested in researching, reading, deciding, putting, painting, and all of this, and so much so that so much sources are going for the text, and in a way the stream becomes very thin. So I would like us to go for a more fluent stream. Therefore, I find this amazing that this possibility exists for us, and there's no limitation in it. Yes, and if you have questions, do ask. I saw, Venus, your email today. Yes, and thank you for this email. Just if we can help each other, and I believe this is what sharing does, that the more we share, the more those armors around us in a way can melt and fall, and we can in a way go free, because we are free. Yes, we are free in the source. We are free. Yes, but this narration, the mechanical narration, this is what the brain does all the time. But the more we share, there's more relief. Relief in all dimensions. And this is what I would like us to be in. Great relief. Thank you, Ariel. Hello, hello, Ariel. Yes, this is because, in a way, this format is free. Maybe we can start with a verse or with this idea that the idea or the verse is just an can opener. Yes, like a airport from which we start or take off. Just a startup. And then the flow, the life, the beat of the heart, what things are coming, just being streamed to you. I find this quite relieving to speak to you from the heart. And in a way, all those things that we are educated to go for, to find a good work, a good job, good position, and all those stories about having houses, paying bills, all of things. Okay, so you do it, but this is not it. This is not where life, in a way. Okay, so we pay bills and so, and we go, and but the presence is the center. The presence and availability for life, for what is happening. And if there's nervousness, sometimes we say, oh, I am nervous, yes? And it's not that I am nervous. Sometimes there's like tension in the air. It moves. It moves through the air, and it moves through us as well, because we are part of this universe. It's not that I am specifically nervous. This is the story. This is the narration. People tell us I'm personally nervous, and I should feel relaxed. And it's not enough that they all telling themselves they are nervous. They also judge themselves, negate, and said, "Oh, I should feel now relaxed. Therefore, I shall take a relaxing pill." So there are moments in which nervous is in the air. There are or tension in the air, or like energy, and sometimes stimulation, and sometimes there's tension. And the tension is not just tension is in the air like electricity, like how do you say, electrostatic. Sometimes the tension is inside of us, and the tension goes like this. You wish to do something and you don't. You wish to do this and you don't, because it's the right moment, because somebody's in the room and you can't. And sometimes we just to accept it, this how do you say, this ball of tension. And then you go for something and see if you hold a few minutes, and then it moves, and then you go with this. And it's not something that we do. It is life which is moving through us, yes, or being lived by us. And it's just to accept it. This river is moving through us. But we are coming with judgment and scores. You should go 10,000 steps per day. You should make such and such money. This is rubbish. This is rubbish. And I hope that those conversations, in a way, are helping us to clear the clouds or those stories that we are telling about ourselves, or we were told about our lives. As an example that came to me when I was thinking about this stream hour ago is that what happens in the stage between 5 and 6, something like this, and all of us experience this as children. There's kindergarten, in which we play and paint and so, and then comes the first grade, and in which we're supposed to learn to read and write and have a navigation system in the world. Before we learn to read and write, we just play, and we don't know really. We notice there's maybe sunset, we have to go back home, meaning stop playing and prepare for the next day. But the reading or the letters, and this is interesting because we say kindergarten in English, in Hebrew we say gan, like the Gan Eden, yes? This is Gan Yiladim, and this is Gan Eden, yes, the Gan Yiladim. So in the Gan, in a way, Gan, the garden, we are 5 years old. Now it's different because the children are growing with phones, so maybe they naturally learn before time reading. But at the age of 5, we're just playing in the garden. At around 6, 7, we're going to first grade, and then we outside of the garden. Please pay attention. And then books are being handed to us, and from those books we learn about life. While in the beginning, let's say the garden as a proverb, as a parable, there was just life in the garden. But outside of the garden, yes, we need books to learn about what life is. And why this story comes? Because this is just the beginning or introduction conversation to the book of Enoch, or to the keys of Enoch. Yes? Because Enoch entered the Garden of Eden, and he left a book outside of the garden. And in this book, he left for us, those who are living outside of the garden, a description of what life is about. So, in a way, this is interesting because now we're moving from the garden to Enoch, from narration. So please, I would like us to notice that there is a movement, yes? Because there's like being, there's like presence, and meanwhile we're moving to those stories. So story about Enoch or story about the garden, this is just a vehicle, yes? This is just a vehicle. Questions so far? So I would like to thank you for participating in this, how shall I say, spontaneous broadcast, and I'm glad that you like the format. I like it too. And I would like to wish you a beautiful life. And whenever you can, just drop the narration, because this is just an external constellation. Yes, it's like the shell of the orange, the narration about ourselves. This is just a shell, but this is not who we are. And with this beautiful message, I would like to thank you, to say shalom and shavua tov. Thank you so much, and shalom, shalom.